works anymore. 14 years ago, the Conservatives said that they would fix the economy. But the truth is, things have got much worse. Our public services are collapsing. The NHS is on its knees. Schools are crumbling. Labour has a comprehensive...
The economic figures today show we're all getting poorer again, and we're led by the most incompetent Chancellor in history, Rachel Reeves, and there are.
Labour's scandals are piling up, and Rachel Reeves is at the heart of it. As Chancellor of the Exchequer, many are starting to wonder if she even deserves the role. The latest controversy? She accepted £600 worth of free concert tickets on a hefty salary. MPs just got a pay rise, bringing their salaries to £94,000 a year. Reeves claimed she worked 10 years at the Bank of England. Turns out it was only 5.5 in her role, not as an economist, but in customer service handling expenses. But the real kicker, Rachel's income is around £607,000 a year. Add in £74,000 from her family's landlord business, and that's well over £400,000 a year. Yet she still took free tickets. Why? She claims it was for security, but the public isn't buying it. This is just another questionable move from Labour's elite.
Is Labour the party of sleaze and lies? Let's start with the sleaze. Chancellor Rachel Reeves took £600 worth of free tickets to see a concert by Sabrina Carpenter, who ironically has a song called Buy Me Presents. Let's have a little look, shall we, at what we think Rachel Reeves' income might be per year. So today it was announced that MPs' salaries are rising by 2.8% to around 94 grand a year. As Chancellor, she reportedly receives roughly £67,000 a year on top of that. Her and her husband, a senior civil servant, reportedly make 74 grand a year as landlords, and his salary is reported as being as much as £174,000.
Rachel Reeves, Labour's chancellor, recently found herself at the center of controversy after accepting £600 worth of free concert tickets to see Sabrina Carpenter given her salary and financial standing. This raised eyebrows. To put it into perspective, MPs' salaries have recently been increased to around £94,000. And as chancellor, Reeves reportedly earns £607,000 a year. Her family also pulls in an additional £74,000 from their landlord business, with a combined income of over £400,000. It seems odd that she'd still accept these freebies.
So yeah, I think the tax avenue is closed, but I wouldn't be surprised. Now here's my little tax forecast, if there is one kicking around. There might be a squeeze up of, I think, tax on fuel duty, because that's turnkey, very easy to collect out of very few suppliers. So if there is going to be a tax rise, that's the one I would guess. But
although that would be one that would hit every single, pretty much every single household in the country, everything we buy, and every single business as well. But, and again, that would be a class. To be honest with you, I think you're probably right, because that would be a classic mistake by
Rachel Reeves defended accepting the £600 concert tickets by claiming they were for security, as she attended with a family member. But the public isn't buying it. With her wealth, many feel she should be beyond accepting such gifts. For some, it reeks of greed or poor judgment, not safety concerns. Meanwhile, Cabinet Minister Heidi Alexander stands in sharp contrast. Asked about freebies, she made it clear she's never accepted any tickets since becoming an MP. She's focused on her responsibilities in the Ministry of Justice and Department for Transport, no time for distractions.
Yeah. So, she still takes freebies, does she? Well, of course, it was all for security reasons.
I took those tickets to go with a member of my family. I thought that was the right thing to do from a security perspective.
Did you pay for them? Because you could pay for them.
Well, these weren't tickets that you could pay for, so there wasn't a price to those tickets. Obviously, I will declare that the value of them, but they weren't tickets that you were able to buy.
The contrast couldn't be clearer. While Reeves, with her hefty income, defended accepting free tickets for security reasons, Alexander's stance is one of strict professionalism. She refuses perks, setting an example of transparency and caution. It's a reminder of how leadership styles shape public perception. Meanwhile, Reeves's decisions as chancellor are starting to feel like burdens. She's overseen cuts to pensions, farmers, and the disabled, leaving many struggling. Pensioners now face reduced support for their futures. Farmers are dealing with tighter budgets when they need help most, and the disabled are feeling the sting of funding cuts impacting vital services.
Come on. But her own colleagues have had enough of that, and I'm not surprised, really. Cabinet Minister Heidi Alexander slapped Reeves down this morning.
I haven't taken any tickets, to be honest, since I was elected back in June as a new Member of Parliament and going straight into the Ministry of Justice and then coming straight into the Department for Transport. I actually, sadly, haven't been to see any concerts at all over the last 9 months, partly because I've been very, very busy.
Would you take tickets?
I have never, as a Member of Parliament, I have never accepted tickets to any concerts.
Yeah. The Chancellor has already made cuts for pensioners, cuts for farmers, cuts for the disabled, and today it's been revealed that she's about to cut £500 million.
Perhaps the most controversial move of all, Reeves's £500 million cut to state schools. Educators and parents are furious, concerned about overcrowded classrooms, fewer resources, and potential school closures. How can Reeves claim to help the economy when the most vulnerable are paying the price? Nigel Farage isn't holding back. On live TV, he accused Reeves of lying her way into the Chancellor role. He pointed out her actions don't match her claims of economic expertise, and he believes her rise was based on manipulation, not merit, calling her the most incompetent chancellor in history. There are major contradictions in Reeves's story. She said she worked 10 years at the Bank of England. Turns out it was just 5.5. She claimed to be an economist. There she was in customer service, handling expenses. And as an MP, she had a credit card taken away after a scandal. Reeves often talks about turning the economy around, but the numbers tell a different story. Under her watch, UK growth is a mere 0.1%. Farage calls this a huge failure. From cuts to education and healthcare to stalled growth, her promises of prosperity feel hollow. Farage argues this isn't just politics, it's about accountability. The public deserves leaders who deliver, not those relying on empty words.
Come on. But her own colleagues have had enough of that, and I'm not surprised, really. Cabinet Minister Heidi Alexander slapped Reeves down this morning.
I haven't taken any tickets, to be honest, since I was elected back in June as a new Member of Parliament and going straight into the Ministry of Justice and then coming straight into the Department for Transport. I actually, sadly, haven't been to see any concerts at all over the last 9 months, partly because I've been very, very busy.
Would you take tickets?
I have never, as a Member of Parliament, I have never accepted tickets to any concerts.
Yeah. The Chancellor has already made cuts for pensioners, cuts for farmers, cuts for the disabled, and today it's been revealed that she's about to cut £500 million.
Angela Rayner's recent trip to Ethiopia sparked outrage when it was revealed that taxpayers footed a £20,000 bill. What was meant to be an official duty quickly turned controversial after it was uncovered that Rayner requested a private safari. Civil servants stepped in to block the request, but the damage was already done. The real issue? The £20,000 price tag at a time when many are struggling. For working families, that's an entire year's worth of tax contributions. What was supposed to be a business trip turned into a vanity project, raising serious questions about how taxpayer money is being spent.
This is after her VAT raid on private schools has forced some of them to close. More sleaze now. Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, randomly went to Ethiopia. The trip cost the taxpayer 20 grand. There is no good reason why she needed to be there. But here we go. It turns out Ms. Rayner asked if she could go on a taxpayer-funded private safari trip while she was there, and civil servants had to tell her that wasn't really appropriate.
Critics argue that the £20,000 could have been better spent, especially with the country's financial struggles. For Rayner to even consider such an extravagant request while the public tightens its belts shows a blatant disregard for the financial reality most people face. Then there's the bizarre story she recently shared about visiting the Prime Minister's residence, where she claimed to have helped herself to whiskey while he was out. What makes it worse? The whiskey was a precious gift from a deceased friend. This moment raised serious questions about her judgment and respect for boundaries. For many, it's a glaring reflection of her character, casting doubt on her discretion as a high-ranking official. It's a strange and troubling glimpse into her professionalism.
In their pockets. When you look at your personal tax bill, does it make you wince?
What makes me wince is when I look at my bank statement and I find that the money coming in is increasingly short of the money going out, whether it's the mortgage or the gas and electricity bills, the weekly shop, all of the money that all of us spend over Christmas is putting a huge toll on family finances, and I think very few people are not feeling the effects of that today.
Your plans. Keir Starmer has come under fire for allegedly telling 25 lies during Prime Minister's questions. As highlighted by conservative commentator Nick Timothy, these falsehoods have sparked outrage, especially as Starmer positions himself as a credible leader. Some of his misleading statements include claims about Labour's Employment Rights Bill, which he suggested would boost worker protections without addressing the reality of how it could cost businesses billions. Another key example was his assertion that the Tories opposed raising the minimum wage, which is false. The Conservatives actually increased it by 72%. Since 2010, these misstatements contribute to growing doubts about Starmer's trustworthiness and his ability to lead with integrity.
What's your message to the Chancellor for preparing next week's spending review? Reports this week saying it could be the biggest spending cut since austerity 10 years ago.
Well, we've made a promise not to go back to austerity, so I'm hoping that isn't the case. And I think the Chancellor...
So if you're listening now, what do you say to her?
We can't go back to austerity. Blackpool and places like mine, coastal communities that have been forgotten about, and will...
Labour's economic policies are raising alarms, especially in their treatment of businesses and workers. Despite claiming to champion workers' rights, their actions don't align. Take the new Employment Rights Bill. It's expected to cost businesses £5 billion, potentially leading to layoffs and fewer opportunities, especially for small businesses. Labour also touts raising the minimum wage, but the reality is more complicated. While they claim to support low-income workers, their policies may make it harder for businesses to survive and hire. There's a clear contradiction. They push for higher wages, but fail to consider the economic strain it places on businesses and job creation. Labour's rhetoric about helping workers often clashes with the harsh economic realities their policies create.
Well, we asked Heidi Alexander whether she had been in receipt of any freebies recently. She said no, so let's hope that turns out to be the case. But she would have thought, would you not, after the Taylor Swift tickets, after all the football tickets that Keir Starmer took, after all the suits, after all the glasses, after all the free holidays, you would think that the Labour government would at last have said, you know what? If we're taking money off pensioners, if we're taking money from farmers, if we're making schools absolutely fill themselves up with more and more pupils and making everybody's life a misery and putting up prices, putting up VAT, putting up national insurance, putting up petrol prices, putting up, grocery prices, everything's going up, electricity prices going up, water prices going up. It might not be a great look to take free concert tickets to Sabrina Carpenter.
Labour's housing plans are sparking heated debate, especially over who will occupy the new homes. There's growing concern that a significant portion will go to asylum seekers and foreign nationals rather than local citizens. While the housing need is urgent, many fear that prioritizing non-residents could leave locals struggling to find affordable homes. This issue has created a rift between housing reform advocates and those worried the crisis will only worsen if local needs aren't prioritized. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe. Watch more videos from us here.